Yo, Stennis here. It's been quite a while since I did my original Dark Souls 2 any percent speedrunning tutorial. And although many of the strategies are still relevant today, there are some changes that speeds up the run and have led up to the previous few records of mine, mainly centered around the Giant Lord segment. There are two major changes to this segment, one being a much faster and easier skip that saves probably around 15 seconds, the other being a much riskier fight that ended up saving probably around 8 seconds when we get it right. The riskier fight I would not really recommend to newer players, so I'll also show a different strategy by another runner that it might be a tiny bit slower than the old strats, but should more consistently give you the extra damage at the start that could make or break a run. So first off, I'll show you the faster strats from a clip I just made. So first off here, luckily we have the hollow here facing our direction when we start. Unfortunately, his positioning is entirely RNG based, even loading the same save file. Sometimes he will be facing you, sometimes he will be facing away. If he's facing away from you, you might have to do a little loop around him, which also might aggro the other enemies around the corner here to get him to follow you. This could lose you probably up to 5 seconds, and there's nothing really you can do about it. When it comes to the bosses, there is pathing we can do to sort of influence their RNG. Unfortunately, in this case, there's nothing really to do about it, but in this case, we are lucky. We will be leading him up to the sort of flatter part of the slope here, near to the cave. So I'll stop outside the cave here, wait for him to approach up, and then I'll do the parry walk. Now, the important thing here is, and I'll go slightly back, is that unlike the older strat where we did jumps into the cave to gain extra height, we are already at the height required to do this version of the skip. And the lineup relies on actually seeing the area, which is the part that makes it easier for newer players. But if we touch the inside of the cave here, at least slightly up from the ground here, we will deload the area outside here and no longer be able to see where to go. So you have to make sure that you don't go inside the cave when we get out of bounds here. And to get out of bounds, we will be scaling these two green rocks here near the cave exit, being able to push us just far enough up that we can exit this wall that doesn't have full collision. So just run at an angle into this rock and you will get outside. So here you can see there are a bunch of trees, and we see also this corner here, which is pretty close to the area we need to be. So I will be going to an angle to the right here, and you will see an item here in front of me. That's basically the angle I'm running towards. And, oh, what happened to the bitrate there? And the important part here is that there is an invisible collision here that will load you in. And we really need to make sure that we don't hit it, because if we load in here, the parry walk will break, we will fall down, potentially die, but at any rate, we will not be able to finish the skip. So around this location, which I can't really give you a very clear line for, you'll have to practice it and figure out when you go too far. You want to make sure that you start turning in towards the left. As long as you hold a sharp enough angle in towards the left, we will not load in on this collision, and we'll be able to continue around the corner here. So here I'm turning to the left, and you'll see I've snapped into the left wall here, and continue forward. So again, I'll show you the full part without me stopping. So run into the corner here, turn left, and hold the wall. Once we've held the wall there, all we have to do is run into this other corner behind here. And the staircase we need to touch is actually right behind this wall. And as soon as you hit it, you're right next to the giant tree here, and you can go into the Giant Lord fight. Now, it is important that you have the aromatic ooze prepared for this, because we'll be using it shortly. And I'm entering the fog gate on the right side. This will just give me a more clear line towards the Giant Lord that I follow. And we'll be doing 3 bind boosts here. And one reason this is not really safe for new runners is that you need 3 really good binder boosts in quick succession. So the first one I'll do about till the middle or slightly past the middle of this dark spot on the ground here. Then I'll do the second one. Then I'll continue going straight until I get to about the middle of the feet of this giant. I'll often hold sprint here just to get a little bit extra distance if I feel like I'm not going far enough. And then the last one, I will angle slightly towards his foot here, more towards the tip of his foot. And I'll immediately two-hand the Dragon Tooth and use the Aromatic Goose while holding sprint to ensure that I don't get stopped prematurely along the way here. And doing so, I'll stop slightly in front of him here. I want to be sort of more towards his back when he does the attack, but if you go too far in or too far to either of the sides, his attack won't hit at the right angle for him to touch the boulder that's falling down on the left side, which does a lot of damage to him. There, see, that hit by the boulder, and I immediately do 2 R2s. We need to do 2 R2s and 3 combos of 2 R1s in order to kill him. And you also need to manage your stamina to make sure that that in fact is enough to kill him, which I'll show you an example of in this, that he just barely survives. The first attack here is very risky since you don't have much time after the attack. So stamina unfortunately is a bit low for the second one. And I'll follow it with 2 more double R2s. And just to get comfortable with this fight, what you really want to bait out is mostly his swipes on the front or the back side. And you need to be able to recognize them. If it does the stomps, you can still do the double R1s, but anything other than that is very risky as he has a bit shorter time to recover and he has a larger hitbox that can one-shot you if you stand in the middle of it. Oh, there's one of those, but I do a double R2 here regardless because it should kill him. Turns out it doesn't because I didn't have enough stamina. And then do another attack to finish him off. So, having showed you that, I'll also show you a safer way of doing this fight that is a bit slower from Pseudostripy. And you'll immediately see that it's a bit different at the start. In this case, Pseudo starts off by doing shorter binder boosts because you don't need quite the full length in order to reach him in time. So he'll do a bit shorter boost here, way before this giant. And if you saw there, right in front of this dark spot, the third dark spot on the ground here, it does a loop around. And this is again to get Giant Lord into doing the right angle of his attack and as well as him stretching as far out as he can, making it much more consistent for him to hit the boulder than the old strats we would do. Then you can just buff your weapon back here, run towards him, and you'll see he'll do another attack before we get to do the first attacks here, hence this strategy being slower. But the flip side of that is that you will be able to attack him much sooner in his attack animation, giving yourself much less risk of being hit, as well as much more time to regain stamina for the next attack. So same strategy here, Pseudo will do double R2s, followed by double R1s. And I can show you the full fight here to see you how we normally would get finished. And much cleaner fight because you have much more time for stamina, you have much more time to recover after each attack, and you can just walk around him, finishing off with a double R2 here, just barely killing him. So yeah, that's basically it for Giant Lord. If you want to do the faster strats, be prepared to try many times to get it properly. The record, for example, does not actually get a good Giant Lord fight, part of that being that he does not hit the boulder. But anyways, hopefully this was informative, and good luck killing Giant Lord in your runs.